All right, folks, welcome to the PTI Nice Daily Show. Happy Thursday morning. I hope your day is off to a great start. My name is Alan. I'm happy to be your host here today on Leadership Thursday. Currently have the pleasure of serving as Chief Operating Officer here at ICE and a lead faculty in our Fitness Athlete Division. Here on Leadership Thursday, we talk all things practice management, clinic ownership, business leadership, those sorts of things. It is Leadership Thursday, which means it is Gut Check Thursday. This week's Gut Check Thursday comes from Mayhem 60. It was a little active recovery workout posted last week. This workout is a 5-minute AMRAP that you're going to go through 3 different times. So it starts on a machine of your choice. It goes 10, 15, 20, 25, etc. Calories on the machine paired with 20, 30, 40, 50, etc. double unders, and 5, 10, 15, 20, etc. burpees. So you're going to do 10 calories on a machine, jump off, 20 double unders, 5 burpees, and then you're going to go back through 15 calories, 30 double unders, 10 burpees, so on and so forth until you hit that 5-minute cap. Then you're going to rest 3 minutes and do that for a total of 3 times. So this workout is great because if you're feeling great, you can really drop the hammer on the machine, try to rip the double unders unbroken and really push the pace on the burpee, maybe get into 4 or 5 rounds of this workout. And if you're not feeling so great, if you're feeling kind of beat up on a Thursday, then you can kind of just cruise on that machine, take it easy on the double unders, or maybe even throw in some single unders and go at a steady pace on the burpee and treat this as more of an active recovery style workout. So enjoy Gut Check Thursday this week. Course is coming your way. We have Older Adult Live this weekend down in Orlando, Florida. That'll be with Christina Previtt and Julie Brower down at SST Rehab. If you'll be out in Kingman, Arizona, I'll be happy to work with you this weekend. I'll be out there with Justin Jones, Jeff Musgrave for Older Adult Live. That's Kingman, Arizona. And then we have Rehab of the Injured Runner Live. That'll be up in Casper, Wyoming. And then next weekend, you can catch Pregnancy and Postpartum Live with Christina and Alexis. That'll be down in Atlanta, Georgia. Or you can catch Jeff Moore up in Massachusetts for lumbar spine management. So I want to start kind of a multi-part series on getting paid. I want to start very basic and talk about how does your clinic get paid, especially if you're an insurance-based clinic, especially if you work at a clinic that is not very transparent with the finances. It can be a little bit confusing to know, seeing that patient in the clinic, how does that turn into money? We know that somehow you see that patient, the clinic gets paid, you get paid. What does that process look like? And then next week, we'll touch on how you get paid as the clinician for seeing those patients, some tips and tricks to kind of argue for a raise, pros and cons of being paid on a bonus sliding scale, being paid for productivity, those sorts of things. So we'll touch on that stuff next week. This week, I want to talk about the very basics, what goes into getting a clinic paid, how much money the clinic might get for that specific patient that you're currently seeing. So the inspiration, if you don't know, for the title of this episode, it comes from Blackstreet, No Diggity, No Doubt. Getting paid is your forte each and every day, the true player way. That's how we're talking about. So we're talking about when somebody comes in, how do we get paid? The first way, the easiest way, the way that we don't really have to spend any time on is cash-based physical therapy, right? It's pretty straightforward. The patient comes in, they pay after that visit, and you get the money, right? Pretty basic. There's not much that goes into that. That system is very easy accounting wise. You know how much you make. It's very easy to calculate your average pay per visit. Most patients are going to be paying the same rate. You might have packages or something like that, or a discount with maybe a gym you're associated with that's going to pull your average pay per visit down. But in general, the amount per patient is the same, and you have a pretty good idea of what you get paid per visit. And it's very easy from that standpoint to calculate how much can I pay other clinicians that I might hire to work underneath me. What is my break-even point as far as how much are my expenses each month? What does that average out to per hour, per day, per month, per year even? And that gives you a good idea of how much profit you're actually making, what you can afford to pay other people, money in the bank to maybe buy a new table or some more equipment, that sort of stuff. So cash-based PT is quite easy in that regard. Now, the majority of us are billing insurance, and unless anything significant changes in our healthcare system anytime soon, the vast majority of physical therapy will always be insurance-based. So we need to have a good idea of what that looks like. So I want to start from the very top. You all are very familiar with this process as clinicians. You see the patient, you type up the note. From there, most of us have no idea what happens. Somehow that note turns into money in the clinic bank account, and we don't really know what those processes are. We kind of just accept that at some point we get paid for that, the clinic gets paid for that, and that's how we end up getting paid our paycheck from our clinic owners. So let's talk about and kind of unravel that process. First things first, it's not as hard or as difficult you may have been led to believe. Most insurance billing now is electronic, and for the most part, very point and click and automatic. You see the patient, you do the note. It goes usually to some sort of billing software. If you have a biller or maybe your owner does the billing, they push some buttons. Literally, it can just be a mouse click. That generates an electronic claim. That is true for about 99% of your insurers. That is sent electronic to the insurance company. And for the most part, on the insurance company end, the other end, they're receiving and their payment back to you is also automatic and electronic. So this kind of goes back to the argument I've made on the podcast a lot of times. Don't spend too much time on your notes. No one is reading that note 99.9999999% of the time. No one is going to read that note. It stays within your EMR. It is not attached to your claim. So only do what you need to do to be legally compliant and kind of cover your own butt as far as demonstrating that the patient came in for the visit. They were actually there. You saw them, you treated them, and that they are making some sort of progress against some sort of objective measure or goals that you have created. That's all you need to do. A note should take you 2 to 3 minutes. That note, for the most part, never leaves your EMR. Yes, you're going to have folks who maybe are on work comp or auto, and you have to send those notes in with the claims. But for the most part, those notes never leave your EMR. Nobody sees them. Don't spend too much time on them. What gets pulled from that note are the CPT codes, the billing codes that then get sent in an electronic claim to the insurance company. So most insurers will pull that, automatically send the money back out. And for the most part, this process, turnaround time, takes about 7 business days. That if I see a patient on Monday, I click the button and send the claim. By Tuesday or Wednesday of the following week, that money will be back in our bank account. Now, there are some insurances that are still print and mail, and from the billing software, some buttons are pushed, a paper claim is printed, and it has to be mailed in. Those take a significantly longer period of time, especially for our Medicare patients. Folks who have managed Medicare plans, folks who maybe have Medicare primary and a secondary insurance, those claims often need to go to multiple insurance companies, and they often are submitted by standard mail, paper mail, old school mail. And those can take sometimes weeks or maybe even months to finally end up with money in the clinic bank account. But for the most part, your Blue Cross, your United, your commercial private insurers, that money is coming back inside of about a week turnaround time. So now let's talk about what is actually on that claim. So I have it written out on the whiteboard here. If you're on the podcast, you might want to jump over on Instagram or YouTube and watch the video. I'll try to explain it in words as best as I can, but sometimes, especially for your visual learners, it's a lot better to see kind of written down. So I've got this whiteboard here, and hopefully those of you watching, it is not backwards. So let's see, let's back it up a little bit. Perfect. Okay, so when we send a claim out, what are we telling the insurance company? We're telling them how many units, we're all familiar with the unit system, how many units of each CPT code are we sending? We can set our own rate for these CPT codes to whatever we want. We can say, I charge $100 per unit of Therax. I charge $5,000 per unit of Therax. It is up to each individual clinic to determine how much they charge for that. Now, what matters here is that no insurance company is going to pay that, right? They already have an amount that they have agreed to pay you, and you or your owners of your clinic have agreed to that in a contract. So when we send these claims out, we might say, I'm charging $40 for a unit of 97140. The insurance company is going to say, great, you agreed to accept $22.31 for that unit. So we have adjusted off $17.69. This is that contractual discount for the patient that you have agreed to when you agreed to bill our insurance and enter into a contract with us. So when we get these back from the insurance companies, these are called ERAs, electronic remittance advice. They let us know how much we charged, how much the insurance company adjusted off what we charged, how much they paid us, if anything, and how much of that charge is the patient's responsibility, whether that patient has a deductible, a copay, or a co-insurance. So I've got an example here, 4 units of each of the 4 major codes that we bill: Therax, manual therapy, neuro re-ed, and therapeutic activity. Each of these is going to have an amount adjusted off. Each of these is going to have an amount that the insurance company pays. and we're going to have some sort of notification about how much of that charge for that visit is the patient's responsibility. So in this example, we billed 4 units. Here at our clinic, our rate is $40 per unit. So in total, we billed out $160. The insurance company is going to say, here are the adjustments. We have adjusted off $55.72 of that $160, and we have paid you $104.28 of that $160. Oh, by the way, there's something called a remark column. Here we see a number 10, and we have a remark of 3, which means that patient has a $10 copay, and it is our responsibility as the clinic to get that $10 from the patient. So we have a couple different columns: what we charged, what the insurance company basically took as a discount, what they actually paid us, and how much the patient owes. And this number can be much higher if the patient has a deductible or a higher copay or coinsurance. We can also see some remark codes that, unless you're really familiar with medical billing, look like gibberish, but the remarks are important. They let us know, is that a copay? Is that a deductible? Is this a denial claim? Because maybe you have an insurance plan that doesn't pay for manual therapy or something like that. So that is the basics of a claim. And now we can get into the nitty gritty here. And this is really where we determine how much a clinic actually makes from a visit. So on this visit, we have billed $160. We have had $55.72 adjusted off. We have actually received $104.28, and we know that we need to try to collect $10 from that patient for their copay. So if they actually end up paying and anteing up, we will have made $114.28 for their visit. So overall, not bad, right? Not bad. Not as high as maybe if our cash rate was $125 or $150, but all things considered, not bad, especially if you're only seeing one of these people and you make that much money seeing them one-on-one for an hour. That's really not that bad. Now, where a lot of clinics get into trouble and where a lot of patients get frustrated is this adjustment column. There's something called balance billing. Balance billing means that I think that it's unfair that the insurance company has adjusted that much off my claim, and I want to make that much money because I believe that I charged $160 and I should be paid $160. So I'm not going to charge that patient just a $10 copay. I'm actually going to add in all the money adjusted off that claim, this $55.72, and I'm going to push that onto the patient and try to get the patient to pay that. Personally, I believe that is highly unethical. Legally, that is completely illegal in 21 states, and it is a federal crime if you do it to Medicare patients. So you can be the one to decide there if it is something your clinic wants to be doing. I would not recommend it. It's definitely not able to be done depending on the state that you live in. The issue here is that nobody knows what's going on here. The insurance company doesn't know that you tried to bill that to the patient. Their primary care doesn't know. The government doesn't know. The only person who knows that you did that was you and the patient. And if they pay it, you've basically tricked them into paying money they don't technically owe. So a lot of larger chain clinics will do this. It's called balance billing. It's a very common practice. And this is why healthcare costs so much, right? Because Frank maybe pays $2,000 a month for his health insurance, and then he's also getting a giant bill for physical therapy. You can imagine if I push this $55 onto Frank, he comes in 3 times a week. That's about $160 a week on top of his copay that he's now getting. Now Frank gets a bill maybe at the end of the month for $500, $750, maybe even $1,000. And Frank is thinking, gosh, I thought I had really good insurance. I pay like $2,000 a month for my insurance. I thought I had the very best Blue Cross. Why am I getting bills for $800 from physical therapy every month? And that is the phenomenon known as balance billing. So if you're looking at opening your own clinic, I would recommend you never even consider that. If you are working at a clinic and you're not sure if that's what's happening with your clinic, I would definitely ask. I think transparency is key here. At the end of the day, it is your NPI number and it is your license number on that claim, not the clinic's. So at the end of the day, you are responsible for that. So it's very important to know if balance billing is going on at your clinic or not, because if it's happening in a state where it's illegal, or if it's happening with Medicare patients, it's a federal crime, and you at the end of the day are held equally as liable as your clinic. So it's important to know what balance billing is and how that works. Now, this is pretty standard, 4 units an hour. We know that's pretty standard in physical therapy. a lot of larger commercial chains are going to follow something called the rule of eights. So we know the 8-minute rule with patients with Medicare, 8 to 22 minutes, 23 minutes to 37 minutes, and so on and so forth. And that when we have a 60-minute visit, the max we can bill is 4 units. Now, the rule of 8 says if I do a bunch of different stuff for 8 minutes at a time, theoretically, inside a 60-minute window, 7 times 8 is 56 minutes. I can actually bill 7 units to a commercial insurer for an hour visit. And now this claim looks a lot different, right? This claim looks almost double. If this is how much we're charging for 4 units, for 7 units, it's pretty much going to double. And now you can imagine if we're at a clinic that does balanced billing, that adjustment column pretty much doubles, right? The out-of-pocket cost being pushed to the patient now looks like maybe over $100 a visit. The amount the clinic is actually getting paid looks closer to $200. And if the clinic can trick that patient into paying the adjustment column, it looks closer to like $300 a visit that the clinic is pulling in. However, the cost to the patient is quite extraordinary, right? That patient is going to be getting a bill for every single visit for about $100 on top of what they already are paying for their insurance premium. So again, really important to understand balanced billing and if your clinic is conducting that or not. So in general, depending on where you live, taking insurance can pay pretty well still. You can see here in this example, we get about $105 a visit plus a $10 copay from the patient. That's about $115 per hour. That's not bad. This is a little bit on the lower end for us. But understanding this math, especially if you're looking at opening up your own clinic, or maybe you're the manager of a clinic, but you don't really understand how the billing works, understanding how this billing works can be helpful because this will let us determine all of our financial decisions moving forward. When we can give raises, when we can give bonuses, when we can buy new equipment, that sort of stuff. The last thing I'll say before we wrap up here for the day is to make sure that wherever you're working, you fight for transparency with your billing. It's really important to know how easy it is on the back end. I do all of our billing here at Health HQ. It is incredibly easy for a biller to manipulate how many units you bill per visit and how much the clinic charges the patient. So when you complete that note, you might say, I did 2 units of therapeutic exercise, 1 unit of manual therapy, 1 unit of therapeutic activity. You finish the note, the note is finalized. On the back end, I can go into that claim and I can literally push a button and change 1 unit to 2 units. I can change 1 unit to 3 units and so on and so forth. And that happens a lot more than you might think it does, right? That you think you're done, you think you have billed ethically, you think you have billed 4 units for an hour of your time, which is quite moral and ethical. But on the back end, the biller is maybe changing a 1 to a 2. Maybe the owner is doing that. They're changing a 1 to a 3. They're billing 5, 6, 7 units a visit, and you don't know that. And it's important to have transparency in that to make sure that you understand what's happening because, again, it's your license on the line. It's very easy to change that billing stuff on the back end. The therapist will never get a notification. If I go in and manipulate those units and change a 1 to 1,000, the therapist never gets told, right? That claim goes over to the insurance company. The insurance company, for the most part, is at least going to pay it initially, and then probably when they notice and flag it when they do an audit, they're going to catch it and say what's going on here. So it's really important that transparency, I believe it's the most important thing. I will never work at another clinic where all of the financial information is not fully transparent. What is our average pay per visit? What does the billing look like? Who does the billing? Can I see the billing? Do I know? Can I see a printout of the claims that go out for that day? That sort of stuff. It's really important to have peace of mind to know that whatever you say was finalized for the billing is what actually gets put on that claim and sent to the insurance company, and that the clinic is not conducting fraudulent billing on your behalf. And you might think, Alan, that doesn't happen. But if you don't believe me, go to your state board website and look at all of the license suspensions going on, and you'll see that the fraudulent billing across healthcare is unfortunately quite common when owners and clinic directors are pushed up against the wall and looking to make extra money. It can be quite easy to change all those 1s that you submit to 2s. So make sure wherever you're working, if you're a new grad looking for a job, if you're looking to transition jobs, make sure that clinic is fully transparent with their billing. Understanding how that claim works, understanding how much money is actually coming in per visit is really important. My last point here is that this is what it looks like for kind of a typical PPO visit, a private pay organization visit. Some of our patients have flat rate HMO payers, health insurances like United. Here in Michigan, we have one called Blue Care Network, and we have another one called HAP, and they pay a flat rate. No matter what you bill, they're just going to give you a set amount of money. Those are really going to pull our average reimbursement per visit down and really limit what we're able to do in our clinic financially. It's going to limit how we're able to give raises and bonuses and buy new equipment, because those flat rate payers, no matter if that person is in the clinic for 2 minutes or 2 hours, the pay is the same. Those HMOs really pull our average down. The unfortunate thing about HMOs is they are also the insurances that require a lot of pre-authorizations and a lot of back-end paperwork. So not only do they pay very poorly, they require a lot of work on the back end, logistically and paperwork-wise. So doing an audit of your clinic, or if you're thinking of opening your own practice, make sure you read the fine print. If you're thinking about going in network with insurance, make sure you understand how much am I actually going to get paid. There's always a page in that contract that lays out the payment, how much you're going to get paid per unit. If it's a PPO, how much you're going to get paid per visit if it's an HMO. And if you're going to take those visits, just know from those insurers, make sure you know and understand how much they're going to pull down your average. And now you can understand why clinics have PTs see maybe 2 patients an hour, 3 patients an hour, 4 patients an hour. If we have a lot of those HMOs on board, it's really hard to make headway financially. So the best thing you can do is get rid of those insurances completely. We're phasing those out in September, and we couldn't be happier. So make sure you understand how much you're actually getting paid per claim. That is going to guide everything you're able to do with your clinic, because you're going to understand how much you're actually making. It's one thing to believe that you build 160 and you're getting paid 160. And it can be a real slap in the face when you bill 160 and you get $60 back from a flat rate payer, and you start to realize this is why we don't have any money, right? So make sure you understand how insurance works, how claims works. Make sure you are working in a place that is transparent with this information, that you know what you put on the billing sheet is what actually gets billed and not more. And make sure that you are not working at a clinic that conducts balanced billing, especially if it's with Medicare patients or if it's in a state where that is illegal. Because again, at the end of the day, it is your license on the line alongside of the clinic's business license. So join us next week. We'll kind of recap this really quickly, and then we'll talk about how to take this data and turn that into an argument for you to get paid more money, for you to get a raise, for you to get paid more bonuses and that sort of thing, or maybe even work less if we're not talking about getting paid more. So I hope you have a fantastic Thursday. Enjoy Gut Check Thursday. If I'll see you down in Arizona this weekend, I'm looking forward to meeting you. Other than that, have a great Thursday. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye, everybody.